Welcome back to another episode of the Worthy Bitch podcast. Today we are going to talk about all things Kapha. So this is the caboose of the little mini season or little mini series that we have been working on of breaking down the doshas. So doshas 101, Vata 101, Pitta 101, and now we have Kapha 101. So if you missed the other two, go back and listen to those. They're really in depth and in detailed. Okay, so let's just dive right in. Kapha Dosha. Kapha Dosha is the element of earth and water. So again, I will repeat myself if you didn't listen to the other episodes that usually in America we only refer to the doshas, if at all, by air, fire, and water. Air is Vata, fire is Pitta, and earth is Kapha. But they also have their secondary element as well, and for Kapha, it is water. So Kapha is earth and water. So it's that really grounded, fluid energy. Kapha is seen in the times of day of between 6 and 10, both in the AM and in the PM. So this is the early morning and the early evening. So it's kind of like that auspicious time. In the dawn, I think the Vata time is a little bit more auspicious, but this is right there with it. So this is that really yummy, cozy, getting ready for bed, getting ready for your day energy. And it's seen during the spring and the winter months, and that makes a lot of sense if you look at earth and water qualities. Spring is all about the rain and then the new plants and the babies and all of things, life growing. And then winter is very heavy, cold, wet, all of those things, and we'll talk about that in detail, how to see that. So how do you recognize a Kapha person? How would you recognize it in yourself? How would you recognize it in others? How would you just see maybe you have children, maybe you have family members, or maybe you just like to, when you play a game with yourself, when you see new people. So how would you recognize a Kapha dosha? So Kapha doshas have a larger frame. They tend to gain weight a lot easier than the other doshas. And then when they do gain weight, it would generally be in their shoulders and in their hips, their thighs, because it's literally like they're carrying the weight of the world. So their arms and their shoulders and their legs get really thick to help them support the weight that they're carrying, because they're always taking on everybody else's stuff. They have really big, beautiful features, big, beautiful eyes, big, beautiful lips, really thick lips, really thick hair. They usually have darker hair or lighter hair depending on what their secondary dosha is, but I will say that I have seen more Kaphas that are actually blonde. So Pitta and Kapha have that similar quality where they are lighter in features, lighter skin, lighter hair, lighter eyes. So Kapha eyes a lot of times are that really beautiful crystal blue. They have really moist skin, wrinkle-free skin, whereas if you see a Vatas have more wrinkles than the others because they have less moisture in their skin. But Kapha has a lot of moisture in their skin, and so they don't get wrinkles as easily as the other ones do. So that is a huge bonus for Kaphas. They stay looking younger a lot easier, or a lot longer, because they have all those good juices flowing through them. Again, they're on the paler side. They tend to be sensitive to the sun, and but they will, actually, I take that back, that's Pitta. Pitta is sensitive to the sun. Kapha actually, I don't think is too sensitive to the sun, depending on their secondary dosha. I think they can tan, I think. Anyways, when they get, it all depends on their secondary dosha. I don't know why my brain is having a fart over that one right now. But when they get spots on their skin, they're going to be white spots. So Vata gets brown, Pitta gets red, Kapha gets white. Okay, so let's talk about the gunas. Again, if you have not listened to my episode all about the gunas, the Sanskrit term for quality, the Ayurveda qualities, then go back and listen to those. I'm going to dive into why they're important, why we need to learn them, what they all are, how to balance them, all of those things. But the gunas, the qualities, are important to understand. So if you have a really heavy, dense quality, you need to bring in a lighter, stimulating quality to balance that out. So that's why we need to recognize these in ourselves, in our environment, in our world, so that way we can know what medicine to apply so we can balance ourselves back out. So the Kapha gunas, the Kapha qualities are heavy, slow, dull, cold, cool, oily, smooth. You're gonna have a sliminess to it, dense, cloudy, sticky, sweet, and static. So if you listen to all of these heavy, slow, dense, those all kind of go together. Dull, cold, and cool, and smooth, and cloudy. Those kind of go together. I guess sticky and static go with heavy and dense, and then sweet. And yeah, so those are all, you can picture these things in your mind. If you have something that's too sweet, what would you need to bring in to balance that sweet? Maybe something salty. If you have something that's too static that doesn't want to move, what do you need to bring in? Something stimulating, something that's moving. If something is slimy, you would need to dry something that's drying that out. If it's too oily, so you see this? See how we do this here? So what does a kapha need? What do kaphas need to balance themselves out? So they need energizing, stimulating, detoxifying, and warming qualities. Makes a lot of sense. They need to pick it up. They need to get rid of that heavy slowness. They need to energize themselves, stimulate themselves, detoxify all that sticky, slimy denseness on the inside, that dullness, and then warm it up. Okay, so we talked about what a balanced kapha body looks like. So if you were to just try and recognize people, you can see their characteristics. They're on the heavier side. They usually have stronger bodies, thicker bodies. They are that mama bear energy. They're really nurturing. They really take in, like they give you those big papa bear hug kind of things. So when you see people like that, you can recognize their big lips, big eyes, all of those type of things. Really, really lustrous feel to them. Who was a good kapha? Robin Williams. Robin Williams is a kapha. Oprah Winfrey, she's a kapha. So let's see. A balanced kapha mind. So they tend to be structured. They tend to be very structured. A pitta is very structured, but a kapha is a little bit more like completely set in their ways, whereas a pitta is structured in a way that they take action on what they need to do. Kaphas are a little bit more stubborn and stuck in their ways. So you can see how if they get too stuck, that can cause imbalance and that can cause issues in their lives. But they really have a routine and they stick to it for all costs. My brother has a lot of kapha energy in him, and he's so funny. You could ask him to do something like, my mom will ask him to take out the trash, and then he's like, oh no, I have an alarm set at 7 a.m. or at 7 p.m. to do that, and I'll do it then. But he has a lot of pitta and kapha energy in his body and very little vata, so there's not a lot of room for spontaneity and flexibility. He's very set in his ways, so that's something we have to work on with him. They have a very calm, sympathetic, courageous, nurturing, loving energy about them. Again, mama bear energy. They are emotionally secure, so they understand their feelings. They feel their feelings. They want to connect with others on a deeper emotional level. They are all about the heart center. So what does a imbalanced kapha mind look like? So when the kapha mind goes out of balance, how does that show up? It shows up as oversleeping, lethargy, so too much heaviness, too much denseness, so they get tired and they don't want to do anything, so they need to stimulate themselves, right? So we'll go back to that. A good essential oil for stimulating is citruses. Citruses are super stimulating for the senses. They create a lot of happiness in the body and get you going. Another sign of an imbalanced kapha mind is attachment and depression. So depression comes from living in the past, holding on, being attached to things that you can no longer have. This is a very kapha quality that they possess if they get too stuck in their ways, and then things always change because that's just the way life goes. It keeps moving forward. Kaphas don't always really care for that, especially if they have too much kapha in their mind, then that they get really depressed, and depending on their secondary dosha is how they will respond in that situation. Putting others' needs ahead of their own. They are known for sacrificing everything for themselves and doing everything for other people. And then what happens? Usually they have sacrificed so much of themselves all day long for everybody else around them, and they're not happy, so that then at the end of the day they need to do something to make themselves feel happy. And what usually ends up happening is that shows up in the form of binge eating. And so this is something that kappas need to be very conscious of, putting other people and denying themselves, causing them to have different types of reactions afterwards, such as binge eating is a huge one for kappas. So be really aware of that, especially you would be binge eating foods that you probably wouldn't usually eat, and especially not a lot of sweets and stuff of that nature. And then greed, since they are so giving, the flip side of that they can start to hold on, and they can get really greedy about their stuff, and they won't want to give anymore because they've given too much. So since we discussed what a balanced kapha body looks like, what does it look like when it's out of balance? When a kapha body is out of balance, it shows up as congestion. It shows up as mucus. So the chest, kapha rules the chest, your lungs, your heart, all of those type of things. So congestion and mucus are formed from stickiness, heaviness, coolness, static, dense, all of that stuff in the body, in the chest. And that is when we start to see a lot of issues such as infections, and we start to get sick, is because your body can't clean itself, because the mucus, the congestion is stuck. It's holding all of that illness in, and then the illness is taking over your body. So you can see why it's really important to detoxify that mucus out. If you know somebody who's always congested, they're always having a runny, stuffy nose, they're always dealing with those mucus congestion issues, please help that person, because they're having a lot more issues on the inside than from what you can just see on the outside. And the longer that goes on, the more problems they're going to have. They don't have to have that mucus, that congestion. Number one thing that causes mucus in people's bodies is dairy. Dairy is the number one thing. I challenge you, if you have a huge problem with mucus and congestion and allergies and stuff, cut out dairy for like a week and see how you feel. It changed my life. I used to not be able to breathe at night because my congestion was so bad. People called me the girl, because I was constantly sick with allergies and stuff like that and being congested. And I constantly had to clear my throat of the congestion. Had I known that that was because of the diet that I was consuming and the way that I was living my life, I would have healed myself a lot sooner. But it was something that I struggled with for over 20 years. Heaviness and lethargy, again, we talked about that. That is part of oversleeping. So oversleeping would be an imbalanced mind, and then heaviness would be the imbalanced body. Coughs and colds, again, it's in the chest, and the mucus is holding it all in, and it's showing up as a cough, it's showing up as a cold, because your body can't detoxify that stuff out of there. Infections are a big one for kappas, again, because they can't let go of things. Cold hands and feet, clamminess, hands and feet, that they can't warm their hands and feet. But this is, I think, where the expression comes from, cold hands, warm heart, because this is definitely the energy of a kapha, clammy hands, cold hands and feet, and a warm heart. Thyroid issues leading to weight gain is a big one for kappas. They're the ones that have thyroid issues. Slow digestion and overeating. This is also a big one for kappas. They already have a slower digestion than the other doshas, and then they tend to eat more. Do not eat until you're full. This goes for every dosha. You eat until so every single person in the world. You only eat until you're 75% full. This is how you maximize your digestion. This is how you maximize your nutrient absorption and all of those good things. And especially when you're a kapha, eat slow. Your food digests slow. If you eat so fast, then all of a sudden you're going to be so full, and you're going to be over full, and then you're going to be mad at yourself. Kappas are really hard on themselves. They get mad at themselves for doing the same things that they always hold on to keep on doing, because that's the energy, the attachment. They're attached to these toxic patterns that are keeping them mad at themselves, and they're not able to let go of it. So really focus on letting go. Let it go. Every time I'm studying the kapha, it makes me think of that song from Frozen, when Elsa's singing, let it go, can't hold it back anymore. I don't really know all the words, and I'm not a good singer, but that's what it reminds me of. Okay, so the 6 tastes. We are going to talk about the 6 tastes. There are 6 tastes in Ayurveda: sweet, sour, salty, pungent, astringent, and bitter. So you're probably familiar with sweet: fruits, dates, things of that nature. Sour: lemons, limes. We're all pretty familiar with those flavors. Salty: seaweed, salty nuts. Celery is also kind of a salty veggie, those types of things. Salt itself, sea salt. Pungent. So this might be something you're not as familiar with. Pungent is garlic, onions, mustard, and hot spices. So it's really going to be that punch you in your face. It's really pungent. It really packs a punch in your mouth. It's going to have a lot of heat. Astringent. So astringent is something else you may not have a lot of familiarity with, but it's that feeling that you get in your mouth when you bite into something and you get that little dry feeling in your mouth and that kind of pucker. It's not a sour pucker, but it's a dry pucker. Comes from eating like a underripe banana or something, like a green banana. You can feel that in your mouth, that dryness. And it's also from celery and raw veggies. Kapha doesn't ever really want to eat raw veggies. This digestion is too slow. There's not enough fire to break it down because your stomach is like your second oven. So first you cook the food before you eat it to get a head start on the digestion, so it makes it easier on your body. If you're not using your first oven outside of your body and cooking that food and getting that head start going, it's making it a lot harder on your body to break it down and to digest it and to absorb those nutrients. That's why they say that eating raw stuff is good for losing weight, because it makes your body work really, really hard. But it can have the opposite effect. Steaming veggies lightly for Kapha is perfect. And then the bitter flavor, we usually are familiar with this in the form of like medications from when we're children, but it also is seen in leafy greens, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, things of that nature. My personal favorites, so vata. Okay, pacifying tastes. So in Ayurveda, there are 3 tastes for each dosha that makes it feel better, and it soothes it, and it decreases that energy of that dosha. And there are 3 tastes that do the opposite. They aggravate that dosha. They increase that dosha. They push it out of balance. So that's why it's so important to recognize these. Pay attention to how you're feeding yourself and how you feel after you eat. Always pay attention to how you feel after you eat, and then think about what you ate and why you feel that way. Do you feel great? What did you have that made you feel great? You shouldn't feel heavy, tired, bloated, sick, like you need a nap after you eat every meal. Food is fuel, okay? It's not anchors. It's supposed to make you ready to accomplish things. It's supposed to fuel you for your life, not hold you back. If you're feeling too heavy from food, then you're eating the wrong food. Okay, so the pacifying tastes for Kapha Dosha, the tastes that are going to make Kapha Dosha soothe, decrease Kapha Dosha, balance Kapha Dosha, prevent Kapha Dosha from going out of balance, are pungent. That onions, garlics, mustard, and hot spices, those pungent pack a punch in your mouth. Kapha needs something to pack a punch and stimulate it, okay? So that makes a lot of sense. Astringent. Kapha is really moist, so moist. Remember, we talked about all the moisture, all the congestion, all that mucus, all that stuff. So the astringent quality of biting into that green banana or the celery or something, that's that drying feeling in your mouth, that is perfect for Kapha. That's what Kapha needs. And bitter. Bitter is also a drying quality. So those Brussels sprouts, asparagus, leafy greens, things of that nature are great for Kapha. Again, steaming your veggies, Buddha bowls with like quinoa and some steamed greens and maybe some seeds. I feel like Kapha was want to avoid nuts and tend towards seeds instead, which actually I'm way more of a fan of seeds than nuts anyway. I love them both, but seeds just are literally pure life force energy. Think about if you plant them in the ground, they're going to turn into a plant that's going to produce more of that thing, and you're consuming that. Sprouting your seeds and your nuts is even better. But Kaphas do want to avoid having too much nuts because they are fattening. Okay, aggravating taste for Kapha. Okay, what is going to push Kapha dosha out of balance and make it feel aggravated? Sweet flavors. Kaphas are already super sweet, and when they add more sweet, they get real soft, okay? If that makes a lot of sense. They get real soft and smushy, and they want to just lay and... Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Sour. sour flavors are heavy and salty flavors are heavy. So if you think about it, pungent, astringent, and bitter are all lighter flavors. The more you play with this, the more you learn about this, the more you hear it, even if you have to re-listen to this over and over again, the more you hear it, the more it'll click in your mind, the more you apply it to your life, the more it will click in your mind, it will make sense. You will be able to intuitively feel, listen to your body, know what you need, ask your body what it wants, and be able to feed yourself the best of your ability that is the best for your body, for your doshas. And your dosha changes every minute of the day. That's at the beginning. We talked about kapha time being from 6 to 10. So it changes throughout the day what dosha is prominent. You want to eat your largest meal of the day, especially for kapha, at noon during pitta time. Eat your largest meal of the day at noon. I don't care what dosha you are, eat your largest meal of the day at noon. When the sun is highest in the sky, your digestive fire is highest in your body. You are able to absorb the nutrients, digest the food the best at noon every day. Okay, so the aggravating tastes are sweet, sour, and salty. That makes a lot of sense. They're really heavy. Salty flavors trigger more eating, so that's going to make kapha want to overeat even more. All right, so what are a few balancing practices for vata or for kapha that can bring you some balance right now? What can you do today to start feeling better? Well, I'm going to tell you. So one, we're going to start with food. This is the biggest thing for kapha. Kaphas love food, and they are really great in making things yummy. They want everything to be yummy and lovey and just good, okay? So you want to kind of switch up your diet from what you've been doing. Stop eating so much like soft, sweet, comfort foods, and you want to eat more stimulating, warming, well-spiced foods. So a great thing for a kapha to do to reset the system would to be to do a khichdi cleanse. If you don't know what that is, it's an Ayurvedic cleanse, K-I-T-C-H-A-R-I, khichdi. And it's just rice and mung beans and seasonings and spices. And so what happens is it gives your body a break, and it also nourishes you on a cellular level, and it gives your body a break so that way it can detoxify. It can do some of the things that it can't do because we're filling it so full of stuff all the time. So your body has a whole process, a whole digestion process that it does. I'm going to do an episode all about eating for your doshas, eating the Ayurvedic way, and I'll talk about how the whole process of digestion and why it's so important to wait until you're hungry again to eat. This is a challenge for kaphas. Wait until you are hungry to eat. And I don't just mean when your mouth decides it wants to taste something. A good way that I've trained myself is when I think I'm hungry, I start craving something with my tongue. My tongue thinks it wants something yummy. And so I'll say, oh, well, you want to eat a bag of chips right now. Well, I'm not going to let you eat a bag of chips right now, but you can have some, carrots and hummus instead. Do you still want that? And if my body says yes, then I know that it's truly hungry. But if it says no, then it's craving something just for the fact of craving it. So that's a good way to question your body. Abhyanga, self-oil massage. This is really great for all the doshas, especially vata and kapha. You want to use almond oil. It's a little bit more warming. And you want to use more of a vigorous massage. So don't be so gentle. Like with a vata, you would be a lot more gentle and slow and smooth. But with this, you're going to be a lot more energizing with it. So you want to stimulate your own body while you're rubbing the oil in, warming it up, feeling your own energy there, okay? And there is a specific way to do the Abhyanga, the self-oil massage, that is best for moving the energy and moving everything through your body. And I'm going to do an episode all about, self-care for the doshas, but you want to start on your right side and end on your left side, okay? That's all I'm going to say for now. Okay, meditating on the solar plexus chakra, taking action, your right to having authority over your life, your right to say no. Your right to have boundaries. Focus on these things, okay? Take power back over your life. Stop giving your power away and then blaming other people for X, Y, and Z or whatever it may be. Say no. Put up your boundaries, not walls. Healthy boundaries are very different than walls. Walls, nothing can come in or out. Boundaries is just like, you can cross it if you need to for whatever, and you can expand them and move them around, but your walls are walls. They gotta be knocked down to move, right? So we're talking about boundaries and have authority over your life. So pranayama. Pranayama is breath work. So guided breathing, you want to speed it up. You want to go in the nose and out the mouth. That's a really warming breath. Also in the nose and out the nose is even more warming, and I think that's the one I recommended for Vata. But in the nose, out the nose, or in the nose, out the mouth is going to be more warming. In the nose and out the mouth is really going to expel a lot of excess kapha. So if you have a lot of excess kapha in your body and you're feeling really heavy, do this practice where you inhale all the way deep into your abdomen with your nose, and then you're going to exhale through your mouth and sigh it out. I'll do an example for you now. You're going to inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So you're just letting that kapha out. Those sighing is really expelling a lot of excess kapha. And I'm not going to do that too much because I don't have a lot of kapha to get rid of, okay? But if you do, then you need to do those things. Asana. What are the type of practices that kaphas need to use in their body so that they can stimulate their body? They need to exercise, right? We all need to exercise. So for some, they need to calm down their exercise, and for others, we need to spice it up, right? Kapha is one of those ones we need to spice it up. So we're going to do hot yoga. I wouldn't usually recommend hot yoga for any doshas or for anybody. I have heard mixed things. I personally don't go to hot yoga anymore. I love it. I love it so much, but as a pitta, with my pitta really easily goes out of balance in my body, I choose to avoid that. But if a dosha were to enjoy hot yoga, it would be a kapha dosha. I don't think it's the best for vata either because it's aggravating. It's very, very, very hot. It's a little too hot. But if you love hot yoga and you're a kapha, I'll say go for it sparingly. Don't hold your poses too long. Kaphas are really good at staying in like mountain pose and holding their poses. They're super strong. They can really hold it for a long time. But what they need to do is actually keep moving. Move on, move on, move on. Don't hold a pose too long and work on that strength. You want to work on getting your body moving, not holding. It's already really good at that. You're a gifted holder. You're a gifted, you're really strong and that sort of thing. But now we need to practice the movement. Practice letting go. Practice keep moving forward. You want to stay up off the floor. Whereas Vata and Pitta would want to go onto the floor, Kapha is going to want to stay up off the floor. They want to do a lot more standing and mostly standing and downward dog, things of that nature. Don't let your abdomen and your bottom be on the floor or your back as much as possible. And when you get to savasana at the end of your practice or whatever you do, you don't have to do yoga as a kapha either, but whatever you do, you want to make sure it's a stimulating exercise, a stimulating practice. If you like to walk outside or whatever, do a fast-paced walk. Don't do a slow-paced walk. And you want to keep your drishti to the sky, looking upwards towards the possibilities. Kaphas love to look at the ground. Vatas like to look at the sky. Pittas love to glare. And Kaphas love to look at the ground. So we're switching things up, right? So we're going to do Vatas looking at the ground, Pittas softening that face, and Kaphas looking to the sky. Just keep your eyes looking up. You want to stay up, lifted, right? And last but not least, tongue scraping. Tongue scraping to detox, getting all of that toxin. Again, I'm going to go through this in detail in another episode about self-care for your doshas, but tongue scraping, if you don't know about tongue scraping, get on it. Order yourself a copper tongue scraper on Amazon. They sell them. They're very cheap. No more than like $10 or something like that, and you're good to go. You clean it with lime and salt. And you do that every single day. I do it every single morning and every single night, but however you want to do it, I would recommend if you're going to do one, do the morning time, and it scrapes all those toxins that have come up from your stomach from the night. Because the reason why we have taste buds is to let our body know what we're eating, so that way it knows what enzymes to release to be able to absorb the food the best, so we can get that nutrition that we need. So if we have a huge coating on our tongue, our receptors can't tell our body what we're eating, and so it doesn't know what enzymes to release And so then it starts dumping a whole bunch of stuff out, hoping for the best, and it just causes a whole bunch of issues. So scrape that stuff off, give your body a chance to do its job the right way for you. Help yourself. And again, just like all the doshas, sip warm lemon water throughout the day, or just a warm water throughout the day to keep your digestive fire up. But we are all done, and that is everything that we have about Kapha. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I know that we just went over a lot of information about Kapha, and there is still more to come, and there is more to go over. So again, message me on social, send me an email. If you want a breakdown of how to figure out your dosha, you can go to Sahara Roses and do hers online, and that one's like a 15-minute one or something like that, but I also have my own. You can email me and we'll figure out how to get that over to you. It's very extensive, going into detail about your Prakriti and your Vikriti, so what you were born with and where you are now. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a great rest of your day. I love you so much. Thank you for showing up today, doing this work for yourself, and learning about yourself so that you can change and be your best you. I'm so proud of you. Love you guys. Bye, chickles.